Hello, and welcome to Just Figure It Out, a podcast to inspire and encourage our listeners to pursue their goals. This will be done by sharing stories and experiences from guests about how they made definite goals, how they failed and succeeded, but never gave up. In essence, how they just figured it out. My name is Jen McAllister, the host, also the owner of Rise CPA and Accountants. And today I'm really excited to have Amy Taylor on with us. She is a very successful model and entrepreneur and female pilot. And there are so many things that we could talk about. And today we're going to be focusing more on the pilot side of things. But first of all, Amy, thank you so much for taking the time from New York to join us today.
It's so good to be here. It's an honor. Thanks for having me.
So uh, there's the and my husband would just automatically cut that out. Anyways, last week we had a merger. And so we got together. There were about 15 of us in a room, and most of us didn't know each other. And as we went around the room, they asked, introduce yourself, but without titles. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I'm going to ask you to do that, but I'll start. And what I said was, the things that I love to do. I love to be active. I love my family, and I'm an eternal optimist. And I just thought, and it was really interesting as everyone went around the room, and then you really got to know someone just shedding the title. And so many of us, most of us, we introduce ourselves as a title. And so I'm going to ask you, please let the listeners know who you are without titles.
Oh, this is such a good question, my dear. Yeah, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a dog mom, and I'm fun. I want my life to be about fun. I want to add fun to other people's lives. I want to be a source of but yeah, that's
I love
fun.
that.
All that comes with that adventure and freedom and pivot changing. I'm in my 40s. I think it's never too late to do a new thing or learn a new thing. So I've been very much about fun.
Yes, I love that so much. It really kind of gets to the core of who someone is when you can just know each other as human beings.
Yeah.
And I love that you love fun. I also seek after laughter and smiles and a good time and adventure. So I think we have that in common.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, tell us, besides all the other successful things that you do, let's talk about aviation for a minute. And I really like to dig into the why behind things. So yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, well, so I envy you. Accounting, I have an MBA, but when I had to take the big three accounting courses, just tangentially, we're going to get to aviation, but
Yes.
I took, the main three when you get your MBA that you have to take. I didn't understand a darn thing. And I've taken regular math, of course, in undergrad, but like debits and credits, I hire accountants because that part is like totally incomprehensible to me. So kudos for you for understanding that language. I can fly a plane, but I cannot diagnose a balance sheet or a cash flow statement, or so I appreciate people like you who have these skills.
Well,
Me,
go ahead.
no, I was it's so impressive. I'm very jealous. So but for me, I'm a undergrad was in science. I worked in biotech, then hated it, pivoted, did the MBA. I was flying for a hobby. My grandpa was an aviator, my mother's father, so it might perhaps be in the blood, I suspect. And I have lived a life where I've done a lot of things women don't do. I like to shoot guns. I'm unmarried. I didn't have children this time around. And I think there's a streak I have where if you tell me I can't, I'm gonna. Not in a
Absolutely.
bad way, but so yeah, it was maybe that women were about 6% female now, 94% male still. It's changing, but there was that part that it was kind of a cool thing that girls didn't do. There's obviously I had a passion for it. And it's a challenge. It is decidedly challenging. And there was the breaking of the barrier thing. And then it's beautiful. The view you get from an airplane when you take a flight, we've only had that view for just over 100 years as humans. No one saw Mother Earth that way a little over a century ago. If you wanted to go from your home to my home, that was a one time in your life journey. Half your family probably died and you never went back.
Yeah.
And now you can be anywhere in the world in a day because of aviation. So what a time to be alive, right? I
Yes.
mean,
We take it for
it,
granted. We absolutely do.
of course, and TSA is lame and the airports are annoying and delays. Yeah, of course, all that. But did you rocket across the earth at this higher than the speed of sound in a machine that goes at unimaginable altitudes and temperatures and then sidles up to the gate like a swan and you get off down the jetway and now you're on the other side of the planet? I mean, it is absolutely a miracle that these creatures, us, have done this. And so the majesty of flying, every time I pull the yoke and we rotate off the runway, I'm like, no way, I can't believe this works. And I understand the physics.
Yeah.
It's just high and low pressures. You actually fly because the shape of the wing is curved and as it goes faster and faster, as you're rolling down the runway to take off, it gets lower and lower pressure on top of the wing, and there's still high pressure on the underside. And so you fly because you are vacuumed up into the air. And so we call our planes homesick angels because they are just going where they want to go. It's just, and so I had that fascination with the science of aerodynamics. And then it's exhilarating, right? It's just, and the view from the front is even better. So
Yes. Wow. Well, I can't wait to hear some of the beautiful things, unexpected things that you've seen. But first, I want to ask, you mentioned that your grandfather was in aviation, so it sounds like I'm guessing that you could have been encouraged to do this, but I'm sure there are plenty of people that said, no, that's not for women. So talk to me about, people saying no. And by the way, I love like if someone tells you no, that you're going to do it. That is my mantra as well, in a healthy way.
yeah, okay, not
Yeah,
things that are, I never did drugs or any, that's crazy stuff that's
right.
there's not but yeah, I mean, aviation probably used to require, not probably, it definitely used to require some physical strength that perhaps women didn't have. If you were in the old B-52s, the ones with the 4 engines and the old-timey warplanes, and you lost outboard number one, the one way out on the end of the wing, the torque of having more power on one side and less, I don't know that I could stand on the rudder with all my weight and get that plane straight to land.
Yeah.
So you probably used to need to be a man. But now it's all fly by wire and hydraulics and electronics, and we have lots of autopilot. And, if I lost an engine, I'd have the other pilot and a fair shot of adrenaline to try to survive. So you do not need to be physically strong like you used to be. So part of it is time and technology that has allowed women to do a job. That's coming from many industries, is that physical strength will not be the necessity it used to be.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there have been sexists. I still, every single week, some man will say, well, I get nervous when a woman is in the plane. And, I laugh. And then, there's other things that happen in my head that I don't say.
Right.
Um, but it's not their fault. We are 6%. When they don't see something 94% of the time, people can't do better until they know better. And so I'm not blaming people for norms.
Mhm.
The next generations it'll be different. And so when they refuse to fly with a woman, which has happened, I flew in LA for a cargo and charter company, and there would be clients who would say they didn't want female pilots, and that's insulting. We actually have a better safety record than the men.
Mm.
Um, well, we don't do overly brave things out of ego. So I think it's important to show young women that this is a career option for them because it's not one they traditionally think of. But that is changing. When you walk through the airports now, especially in the regional jets, the smaller planes, you'll see crew that are both women, both the captain and the first officer. So, and most like abject sexists, they're now on their heels knowing that they are wrong and those jokes aren't funny, and
Yeah.
we'll get there. So I've never been turned down a job. In fact, the other thing has happened that because companies want to hire women, there can be some envy because we will maybe get a job offer before a man. But that said, it's not ideal, of course. I understand the spite and envy when that happens, but everyone goes through indoc. Everybody goes through the same training, and everyone is examined by a neutral examiner from the FAA. So no one is flying the plane who isn't qualified to fly a plane just because they're a woman. Everyone
Right.
is subject to the same standards that are neutral from the government. So you have no reason to fear a lady pilot, gentlemen.
Yeah. If anything, your confidence should be bolstered, right? Because the track record is a bit better. And
It
like you
is.
said, by nature, women are probably just less risk takers, and that turns out to be a good thing with the safety record.
Well, everything in our bodies makes life. So we have a different relationship to like creation and a different relationship to destruction. So, and I'm not saying men aren't excellent pilots. They are. And in, dire situations like wartime, you probably needed all that testosterone and bravery. I mean, a friend of mine said that landing on an aircraft carrier is more stressful than getting shot at. And I don't know anything about that world. So every type of flying is valuable, but for shuttling cargo around or passengers, you're essentially an Uber driver, and there's nothing about that a woman can't do. You do have to be a bit resilient to overcome gender stereotypes. And then there's some logistics things, like in a two crew situation, if there's a male and a female, the company can have to get 2 hotel rooms for us on a layover, where they could have roomed them together in the either pilot apartment crash pad if they have one, or the hotel. That can add cost, which maybe isn't ideal for some flight operations. But they're just going to have to adapt, right?
Mhm.
I've been
Yes.
I've been hit on by my co-pilots a lot. And, I'm flattered, but I'm not interested in sleeping with
Yeah.
fellow crew. I'm good.
So what are some of the things you've got in your back pocket that you'll say to people that hit on you in whatever circumstances that you're in?
Oh, yeah. Well, the great thing about being over 40 is that really, really predatory men are now terrified of me, which is sort of a win. Um, you have your own money, you have your own, and you're not as easy to impress because you've lived a little.
Mhm.
And the good men are still very interested. This is a lie that they tell women, that no one's going to want you after a certain age. That is a total lie. Plenty of men, and actually, I think the better ones want you if you're still on the market later. It's fine. There's a
Yes.
vibrant dating scene of older people there, and there's love everywhere if you find it, and different kinds of love and friendship. And if you just go outside of your home and be reasonably nice, there's people everywhere. So I'm always flattered in getting hit on. And the next time I'm in a committed relationship, that's the easy one. You just say, thank you very much, I'm not single. And now if I'm not interested, I usually try to be kind, because I think it takes energy for people to put themselves out there. And if it's not a fit, that's okay. In the advent of the apps, people are less aggressive. They can go home and scroll and find somebody. So they're usually not too angry if it's a no. When people hit on
Yes.
me at work, though, I am uninterested. I don't mix that. I think it's unprofessional and awkward. So
Yes.
I'm pretty quick to shut that down.
So just a funny side note, my daughter, she gets hit on at the gym a lot, and lately her comment has been, "Sorry, I'm married." I just laugh because I'm like, "You're not married. You don't even have a boyfriend," but that's just kind of her go-to. And it can be anything, and you don't want to be rude unless someone, well, you don't want to be rude regardless. Even if someone is inappropriate, you still want to be classy. But I just think sometimes it's funny, the things that you can pull out of your back pocket. Oh, I'm married.
Does, does she wear a fake ring?
No, no,
Oh,
she doesn't. Yeah.
my
I mean,
mother used to.
yeah, I don't know, maybe because she's at the gym, and I don't even personally wear my ring at the gym, but it just makes me laugh. And I don't know if there's always the perfect answer to someone that's trying to hit on you, but that was just a funny little side note.
Great answer, because then she's not telling them like you're not good enough or something that they're internalizing. She's just saying I'm not on the market, which is an easy out for them. That's a nice,
Yes,
it's
because it
what we
really,
white lie.
yeah, I mean, it does take effort for anyone, man or woman, to approach someone else. And so to be able to be greeted with a smile, but no thank you, is better than just a cold shoulder, unless they're
No,
just being a jerk.
no, I think it's always you lead with kindness, if you can. And of course, if somebody's disgusting, which, that's happened to me, um, I prefer to just disengage. You no longer exist if you're that kind of person, because life is very short and I'm not going to waste time on bed. But most,
Yeah.
hopefully in her life, when I've seen your family. You're all stunning. And
Thanks.
I'm sure I've seen her. I can't recall which one she was, but yeah, like you guys are all like gorgeous. And this is part of the deal. When you're physically appealing, people like that. And she'll have to navigate that for the rest of her life, like you. But if one can be kind, I think it's also safer maybe for, especially for women. You don't want an angry man. Not that you want to excuse bad behavior, but elegance, manners matter. You know, I'm over 40. I still think manners matter. It's
Yes.
a dying art. But in aviation, the irregular schedules and the travel schedule and the fact that you're away a lot can cause problems with interpersonal relationships. I had a relationship for the last few years, and yeah, there's times where you don't see each other for a while, and you are in hotels on layovers with single business travelers or married ones. Um, and that can be difficult on a relationship, but you simply have to trust each other. And then the time away from loved ones, you just have to view that as it makes it more precious when you're back with the ones you love.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
but
that. I love that perspective. And
well, it's hard for pilots who are mothers. A lot of times they want to go into a different area of aviation, you know, management or dispatch or anything where they're not on the road all the time, because it becomes pretty hard to be away from your family as a mom.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
So
but for me, it was, uh, I didn't mind. The intense training was something to do. My father's a professor. I think learning is something I really crave.
uh-huh.
So one of the other great parts is that there's continuous education in flying. You get something called a type rating, which is a license to fly that type of plane only.
Mhm.
And so you're never really done with school. As you change to bigger, faster planes,
Yes.
you go back to usually flight safety or one of the others, and you go back to school again. So that's very appealing that you never stop learning. But
Yes.
we can all do that now with whatever it is we do.
Absolutely. And I think that some of us think that, you know, you go through your education, your training, whatever it is, and then you're done, and then life continues. And that's so not the case, that we should be always looking for ways to learn and grow. And it's a muscle, right? The more
Yeah,
that you're constantly learning, the easier it is to pick up on things. And it's just a natural flow and a natural growth every day. And
sure.
we're never done. We're never done learning.
Well, don't in finance, don't you guys like you're required to keep going to school, right? Because laws change and rules change and
Yes, absolutely. Every 2 years, I have to renew my CPA license and I have to have 80 hours of CPE credits. And and it's great and it's
oh,
terrible. All in the same, like, when you have to do something and you're like, I don't have time, but then you do it and you're very grateful that you kind of had that nudge to continue your learning. So yeah, I do enjoy
I
that.
don't know how
Just
you guys stay compliant with all the rules. My ex was involved in the counting of different countries and just staying compliant. There's the rule, like it changes all the time, right?
Yes. And with that, I've learned that it's better to not to try to know everything and do everything, but stay in your lane. Mostly find something that you're really great at and stick to that and lean on other people for the other areas of expertise. A lot of times people think that that shows weakness when you say, I don't know. So, some people think that it's erroneously think that, oh yeah, I can do that and that and that. And you just say, oh yes, I can. Oh yes, I can. But really there's greater strength in saying, I don't know that, but I know someone who we can bring in to help with that. Because
Smart.
we just shouldn't be expected to know everything about everything.
Nor could you, right? I mean,
Mhm.
the great thing for us, weather is weather. It doesn't change on a fast enough scope to affect one human life. It's pretty much wind is wind. And but technology and airplanes can change if you have a long enough career. And we have to but yeah, I mean, accounting, that is more fascinating to me. I would like to see the few women I know in aviation. It is also an area that women are making strides, but still have a long way to go, is our own personal finance. They say women are buying a lot of homes on their own. Um, my grandmother passed away 2 years ago, and we learned that she had never even balanced a checkbook or written a check because my grandfather did it all.
Mhm.
And she had undeposited checks in the closet that she didn't. Well, she's a 98-year-old woman. It
Yeah.
was time. Um, I'd like to see more women in any job field get their own financial professionals, like take some of the reins. I mean, that's a field, because we've only really had our own money for 60 years now. It's, we didn't really have jobs.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy. And
within
yeah,
my
like,
lifetime, you couldn't get a credit card or a home loan without a male cosigner. That's within my lifetime.
yeah. And in the whole realm and the whole scope of things, it's such a short amount of time in which so much progress has been made. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's amazing. My sister and her husband, they're completely financial partners, as many couples are now.
Mhm.
And she doesn't love like math and finance. And so she's had a learning curve. She owns her own business. And there was a lot of learning curve on taxes and quarterlies, estimateds, and they're fine. They're getting it together. But
Yeah.
she had to outsource it, because when you don't know it and you don't enjoy it, like I've met people who have no interest in how a plane operates. They're like, let me sit in back. You
Hmm.
guys drive. I don't care. Just
Yeah,
do your
just get me there safe.
yeah, and that's perfectly valid. Like, to each, the French say, chacun a son goût, each has their taste.
Uh-huh.
And this is perfectly valid. I think just because I like the limited representation in a field like aviation for women, I think, we have groups like Women in Aviation that provide mentorship and help with the isolation that we can sometimes feel. I perfectly understand anybody who is like, that's not for me. Want to stick with more traditional fields. It's all valid, right?
Yes. So, Amy, I've been sitting here thinking about with all of the influence that you have, and you have choices on how you can influence other people. What's been satisfying and gratifying with aviation, and then whatever else you'd like to talk about? But what have you been able to do to inspire young women, any women, just people in general? What have been the greatest things that you have loved? Okay, my husband will say, Jen, stop. This is definitely the cutout. Like, don't just ask a question and then ask another one on top of it and on top of it. And that's what I
I love
just did.
it.
So let
I
me
love
just
it.
let me just start over, because then it's like, well, wait, which question did you want me to answer? So I'll keep
It's
it.
not court. It's not was the compound question that you're not allowed to ask in court. No, I understand as you're formulating your thoughts. I do the
Yeah.
same thing. It's cool.
So I'll just start again. So, Amy, with all of the influence that you have, what has been the greatest satisfaction in which you've been able to influence other people?
Yeah. So breaking barriers is important to me. I want a world where anybody can do anything they dream of and can become qualified for, and can learn and enjoy. Um, I think future generations should hamstring people less. And I want more male makeup artists and women pilots. And I think I have a sense of responsibility uh to inspire by showing that you can do what you want if you learn properly, find community. It takes time and effort, but I think that's important for me. So yeah, I like to see young people's faces light up when they see that this is something that they maybe didn't think about doing but could do. And not just young people. I meet people every day who's like, who ask like, how could I be a pilot? I'm like, there's flight schools everywhere. Go take a discovery flight. It's $100. See if you like it. You may not, and then okay, it's not for you. There's a million other things you can do. Some of the less gratifying things, I've done a lot of modeling. I did, living in LA for graduate school, and then afterwards, everybody's got a headshot, so it's kind of a thing people do. I did fitness. I did some glamour. I even did like FHM and Maxim. Nothing naked, but some stuff that was sexy. I was in my 20s and 30s. Sexy. I'm not mad at it completely, because I'm like, look how cute I was. I don't think that inspires. I think it was fun. It was a celebration of nubile beauty. I am not sorry. I don't regret it. I will not be ashamed. When I'm an old grandma, like I said, I'll be like, look at me. But I don't think that was as satisfying intellectually to just stand there and be cute. But every now and then I'll continue to be hired for a shoot. Now it's more like fashion and stuff because I'm older. Um, I don't have a problem with celebrating beauty or even, sexuality. We're all humans, and that's okay. It's healthy. It's a normal part of life. Nothing was ever predatory or problematic. But I don't tend to think that's as as influential or inspirational. That could be just me changing and graduating to a different chapter of life.
Mhm.
But it was a fine thing too. I think if you want to leverage, being an adorable person in your 20s who gets the brand collabs because you're cute, there is nothing wrong with that. That is fine. People like to look at pretty people, especially when they're a little younger.
Mhm.
But certainly using your ability to inspire, build community, use your brain too, I think is a little more lasting.
Yes. And that's what I'm so impressed with you, just as we've been talking, is you are beautiful, and you know that, everybody knows that, but it's so much more than that. Your intellect, your class, your grace, coupled with the beauty, just makes for a great package. And so I love that.
Same. Look at you. I mean, yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with being a hyphenator. We have different chapters in our life. We are a different person when you're 21 than when you're 47, when you're 82, and that's a wonderful thing. And as long as we're all living now, we're going to have to reckon with the fact that people are different at different times in their life. They do different things. They value different things. That's cool. Like, but yeah, in any influence I have, particularly over the young, I would hope that they see it's a long life, and to not be short-sighted. Like, don't sell your future down the road for what might be fun right now.
Yes. So, what do you base your worth on? This is such a deep question. And let me tell you a little bit about why I'm asking this. A little context is, if we base our worth on our looks, which I know you don't, based on our conversation, but if you base it on that, and then as we get older, or anything could happen, then if we've based our worth on that, then we suddenly feel less worthy. And we pivot, things change in our lives. So that's the context of the question. Where do you find your worth that lasts no matter what's going on in your life?
Yeah, this is so great. Right. Because I did certainly, in my 20s and 30s, I made more money modeling than I did from anything else. And it sort of happened to me that, well, after my undergraduate degree was in biology, and like I said, I worked in biotech, hated it, wasn't that good at it, pivoted, MBA, did other things, flew. But my first attempt to be a scientist, I did what people say, you get a STEM degree from UC Berkeley with honors. I did not make enough money to survive, and all I was doing was killing mice all day, which has to be done. It's biotech research. I get it. But I was just a mouse murderer for like less than minimum wage. Yeah, I killed a lot of mice. Sorry, God. Got a little purgatory time coming for that. But you can't test, I take medicine. You can't test that on people. You need to we still do animal testing. So long story short, the first road was financially unsustainable. So then I go to graduate school. I go down to LA to get my MBA. I start doing some modeling because you're in the land of Hollywood. I was shocked at how much more financially rewarding my looks were than my brain had been. Because, like I said, I was a professor's kid. I was really proud of this nerdy science brain. I like it, being a dork. But I had this shell of a great body, especially honed by the LA fitness culture. And the shape, I was shocked that you could just stand there and be hot and literally do nothing. Literally nothing. That's what modeling is, doing nothing. Some angles, okay, fine, but it's not exactly science or accounting, right? That was at first dismaying. How come this pays so much better than things that I believed were so much more substantive? Well, people like beauty. We always like beautiful things, right? I love Manhattan's beautiful architecture. I love the view from an airplane. So I sort of reckoned with that. And then because it was profitable, I did it because, hey, it helped pay for grad school and buy my first apartment. And, we all need money. That's part of life. And I can't hate it that beauty has value. But today, as I get older, I want and I think there's beauty in older people. I see these Upper East Side old ladies that are just super rich and gorgeous and silver hair, and I think they are beautiful, but in a different way. But if my worth is not going to be from pretty soon here not going to be from standing there and being good looking. I want it to be from kindness. I just have personal thoughts about the cruelty on social media and the envy and the competition. And as I pivot into my 50s and beyond, I would like to derive my worth from my personality. Maybe not so much my high IQ. It's great to be in Mensa, whatever. I'm good at Sudoku. That's not that useful. It's great to fly planes. A lot of people do. But I find it very important lately to be somebody who's kind, because I see that people really need it. And also it makes me feel good. I have an ego, right? I'm a human. So I hope my worth will come from that as I age into the next chapters. I hope I can be a source of love and friendship to my community. And I will continue to fly until I can no longer pass my class 1 medicals. I might keep doing gray modeling into my old years. There is quite a market for like silver-haired pretty ladies in fancy clothes. I don't think it'll be that lucrative because it's a smaller market, but it might be fun. And if they're still calling me, I will still shoot. So we shall see where the worth comes from in the next.
I love that. And I love the overarching kindness. That's so powerful and means so much. And we're out of time. And I hope that you would join me again in a few episodes and we can talk about social media and kindness and how to show up authentically and help other people instead of bring them down. But as I said, we're out of time. So thank you. And I'll put in the show notes how people can reach out and find you because we're out of time. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining today. You've been a joy to have and just full of inspiration. Thank you.
It was fun. Thanks.
And with that, we'll wrap it up. This is Jen McAllister, the host of Just Figure It Out and the owner of Rise CPA and Accountants. Until next time, friends.